Good evening and welcome to the special meeting agenda of the San Bruno City Council for April 26, 2011. I'd like to thank the San Bruno Garden Club for the floral arrangement. They're always kind enough to provide for us. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Here.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Mayor Ruane.
Here. We do have two other council members, Vice Mayor Salazar and Councilmember O'Connell, who are doing their visits to the other cities in San Mateo County. We set up a program to personally thank, with a personal visit, every city and every entity that helped us out in the September 9th incident. So we're almost through with that. I visited the Board of Supervisors today and Half Moon Bay next week in South San Francisco, and they're in Woodside this evening in Menlo Park, so they'll be here joining us in just a little while. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. Connie Jackson, would you lead us, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a few announcements. There will be a town hall meeting on the Glenview Fire on Wednesday. That's tomorrow evening, April 27th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. right here at the San Bruno Senior Center, 1555 Crystal Springs Road in San Bruno. The other item is an annual Operation Clean Sweep event will be held on Saturday, May 7th, beginning at 9 a.m. at San Bruno City Park. So we'd like you to attend that. It's always a lot of fun, and we have a nice big barbecue after, and it's a good event. Also, one announcement that's not on the agenda. I would also like to announce that congratulations are in order for our city manager, Connie Jackson. She was the recipient of the Award for Career Excellence from the Municipal Management Association of Northern California. The award was given to her last Thursday. Don't ask me how I got the award, but it's going to sit up here for the meeting. And so, job well done. Presentations. We were supposed to receive a presentation of donations from Half Moon Bay Rotaract Club to benefit the residents in the Glenview Fire area, but once again that's been postponed until one of the meetings in May. Review of the agenda. Any changes on the agenda? No, sir. Okay. Approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting of April 12, 2011. Errors, changes, submissions? Seeing none, they will stand approved as submitted. Consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implement an earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested by a council member, citizen, or staff.
Through the chair. I'd like to remove items E and F from the consent calendar, please. And if there are none others, I'll move for approval of the rest.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase agreement for two 2010 Ford Escape hybrids and one 2011 Ford F-350 from downtown Fort Sacramento in the amount of $87,371. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quickly on these two items, I'm bringing this forward because we obviously are preparing for our next budget study session, and next budget, of course. I took the opportunity to go ahead and look at the vehicles that are being asked to be replaced so I personally and physically could see them. And the reason for that was that there are a variety. There's both 2001, one's at a certain mileage of 62,000, one's at 81,000, another one's in 1997, 107,000, etc. So I was trying to understand basically as to how we make the criteria as to when it is thought in which to replace the vehicles, and yet the expectancy of a replacement in 09 was extended to 2011. I'm hopeful that going forward for this next budget cycle that we really, even though diligence is certainly done by staff and they try to extend as best possible the vehicle so that it's safe for the staff and effective for the community, but I'd like us to very much make sure that when we're replacing these things, even though it may be an equipment reserve or the enterprise fund, that we are very much looking at that, because obviously it's different times, and I know that all of us in our personal lives and in business, we've had to extend the life of major appliances and or vehicles, etc. So even though the diligence is there, I'm just raising that as an expectation for this upcoming budget.
Okay, Mr. Ibarra?
Are you covering, both of the items?
I think both of them could be covered. in
Okay,
that.
well,
Okay, item F is adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase agreement for one Vector 2110 Jetter vacuum combination sewer cleaning truck from Maryland Industrial Trucks Incorporated in the amount of $364,480.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
What I'd like to add on this is, and thank you for pulling this item, is that this is a specialty item, special piece of equipment. And I remember 10 years ago when the city council approved the purchase of it, and I believe it's helped, and it's, the staff report states as to its usefulness and the possibility of purchasing a dual type of piece of equipment that'll do two things now. What comes to mind now is that we're constantly talking about shared services, and on a specialty item like this, which is nearly $400,000, is there a chance that there is some discussion about shared equipment? I mean, I'd be really interested to know if our neighbors like Millbrae and South San Francisco, and I know some, because of sewage and, the infrastructure, that it's probably deployed a lot. And that's all I need to know. But if it's sitting in a corporation yard for times on end that can be scheduled between, jurisdictions, I think that would be something to consider in the future.
Good evening, Councilmember Ibarra. The volume of use, the level of use for this type of equipment is so high that it is our intent to include the purchase of the third the same type of equipment in our next sewer budget. And based on the today's methodology, how you are maintaining and cleaning the sewer system, that's why it's so highly increased the need for the use of this equipment. And our department is ongoingly in communication with the other cities around us, and no other city has any capacity available to share of this type of equipment at this time.
Through the chair, through my going down, I also, that question, and thank you for asking, it came up. My understanding is that piece of equipment that currently we have is out daily. Every day, it used to maybe go to 8 sites, now is up to 13 on a daily basis. I think our neighboring city of Millbrae may have 2 combination or similar
Correct.
type vehicles
Correct.
that it has, and obviously it's a smaller city with less mileage of pipeline. So, but I think that was, I was impressed to see, Councilmember Ribera, that was on the gentleman's mind that I had talked to.
But I will follow up. Maybe my response was too narrow, focusing only just on this specific subject equipment. But certainly your comment is welcome for overall management of the overall fleet. And our department ongoingly is in discussion with the other cities around us to see if any other equipment which doesn't have the same level of use like this, like including even before our department purchased the green machine or any other type of equipment can be shared or used with other city, and the efficiency can be increased, sharing the use of certain equipment with the other cities around
Yeah,
us.
and that's the key word is efficiency in purchasing and in being prudent and getting the right equipment for what our needs are. Because believe me, we'll back you up out in the public when someone complains about too many new vehicles on the on the streets and things. Oh, we're complaining about hard times, but we've got these brand new vehicles on the street. We'll set them straight. It's just that we need to know the details, and we need council members going and test driving them with their.
They didn't let me do that.
Useful life. Thank you.
I offered.
Well, you did offer me the keys, but to one, I just thought it was safer for me not to
Oh,
do
let's
that.
try the Vector. Yeah.
Any action on items E and
I'll
F?
go ahead and move to approve items E and F on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearings. Notices of a published posted mailed. We don't have any public hearings this evening. Item number 9, public comment on items not on the agenda. It is the council's policy to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and interaction where appropriate. The Brown Act prohibits the council from discussing or acting upon any matter not agendized pursuant to state law. Would anyone like to address the council under items not on the agenda? Please state your name and your street. Thank you.
Street. Hello, my name is Linda
Pull
Vu.
that down a little bit. There you go. There you go.
Okay. My name is Linda Vu, and my address is 8400 Ocean View Terrace, San Francisco, California 94132. Hi. So, I am a political activist and organizer with the 88-year-old economist Lyndon LaRouche, and we're doing many, many, many things around town. The reason why my colleague and I are here tonight is to right now build the real groundswell that is taking place right now, where you have a clear opposition against the Wall Street bailout crowd. And you see this very clearly last week when a Democratic congresswoman out of Ohio just reintroduced the Glass-Steagall Banking Act. That this Glass-Steagall Banking Act was first passed through in 1933 under FDR, and it was a pinnacle, it was a foundation of what he did with the New Deal. And it simply put, it's a firewall, it's a separation of investment banking and regular commercial banking, where you cannot have the gamblers' investment houses being involved in regular day-to-day activities with the savings and loans and with the lenders. So that this was the key principled constitutional law that we had that made sure things were functioning without any criminality, without any theft. And that this is a matter right now of today, we're here today to call, we're in the midst of putting together and printing out a resolution for the city councils to right now call in support of people like Marcy Kaptur, of right now calling the elected officials in this state, the state legislatures, and build a real groundswell around this matter of passing this through now in DC, that you actually restore this type of sanity, shut down Wall Street crowd, and shut down these bailouts, where we got it right now, addressed finally. We have to point out to the white elephant in the room where we can assert, look, all these debt you guys say we owe you, it's a mere gambling debt. We don't have to pay it. We're going to readdress what's actually real value. We're going to say, hey, look, the police forces out there, the firefighters, the Army Corps of Engineers that would help in such measures of earthquakes that may happen here, right, in places like the San Andreas Fault, that this stuff is what we need credit for, not the bailouts. We're not going to sacrifice the livelihoods of the American population on behalf of continuing a real empire financial system. So we're going to reassert that type of American tradition back. We're not going to take any criminality anymore. So this is what we ask of you to do, to join this type of a tidal wave.
All right, thank you very much. If you can get some information to the city clerk, we'll take
Yes.
a look at it. Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Rico.
Robert Rico, 7th Avenue, Mayor and Council Member. In continuing the recognition of this week as West Nile Virus and Mosquito Control Awareness Week, I want to update you that today I did a 2-hour ride-along with the district technician responsible for the day-to-day and weekly monitoring and treatment of what is known as Mills Field, the open space east of San Bruno city limits to Highway 101. I donned waist-high wader boots and followed along under and through the trees occupying the Mills Field area and dip sampled numerous holding ponds from Angus to approximately Millbury Avenue. From what I participated in and observed today, the residents of San Bruno continue to receive the professional level of continuing service that results in removing and controlling possible mosquito infestations year-round. Residents with questions or to report instances of mosquitoes in San Bruno or elsewhere in San Mateo County should call 344-8592.
Thank you, Robert, and thanks for all your work that you do.
Good evening. My name is Michael Steger. I'm also a member of the LaRouche Political Action Committee. I'll just be a little redundant since you already have an idea of what we're doing. And I'll be a little bit dramatic, I think, because I think it's necessary. We're on the streets day to day as an organization, and we confront all aspects of the political views today in the population. And it's clear that if we continue on the track we're in, our nation's not going to survive. I could reference things like hyperinflation. I can reference the budget cuts. I can reference the ongoing questions of unemployment. There's the projections of revenues, all of the problems you can foresee if you don't see a change. Now, people can keep hoping for a recovery, but if you look back historically, the recovery is going to come by deliberate action to address the systemic problem. It's not going to come from, as much as people, I think, maybe should pray, I don't think an economic recovery is going to come from prayer. So we're going to have to take some more immediate steps, and that's Glass-Steagall. If people don't know it, it's like what my colleague said, it does separate the banking systems. But it makes it clear that our orientation is committed to ensuring our nation and its population and its cities and states' survival, not the so-called financial system. Now, the one question we consistently get from people is, well, if we didn't bail out Wall Street, wouldn't the nation have gone under? And the frank answer is no. Your nation would actually begin to enter into a recovery period, because the massive parasite of a flea or tick that's now much larger than the dog it's embedded in. The dog has now become emaciated and bony and sickly, and the flea is gargantuan. You remove the flea, and the dog can now come back to health. We could bring back industry. You could bring back major developments of projects. You could immediately deploy a CCC-style program into the cities and employ a lot of the youth who are either unemployed, unskilled, oftentimes uneducated, into areas of real production. It sets the pathway in the different direction. In a sense, we're at a fork in the road, and we have to choose the path less taken under the current political circumstances. So we're hoping that we can save our country and save San Bruno in the process. So we'll definitely present some material to the city clerk and city manager. We'll be in contact to see if you're interested in passing a resolution. This has been done by a number of cities throughout Pennsylvania, a few in California. I think over 11 state legislators endorsed this between 2009 and 2010. New York, Rhode Island, almost about a dozen states passed this. We're talking to people in Sacramento. We'd like your support as citizens, as Americans who have a sense of future generations. That's kind of what we're doing. So take into consideration, and we'll be in contact.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the council? I'll move right on to conduct of business. The first item is adopt a resolution authorizing continued participation in the City-County Association of Governments of San Mateo County, CCAG, and approval of the Joint Powers Agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute the Joint Powers Agreement. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a recurring action which reauthorizes the continuation of CCAG, or the San Mateo City Council, City-County Association of Governments. The current agreement expires later this year on December 1st, 2011, and it's necessary to begin early to get around to all the city councils to get the necessary numbers of cities with the majority of the population in San Mateo County to complete the reauthorization. I know that you're well familiar with CCAG and its numbers of accomplishments and contributions over the last many years. I'm actually sorry that Councilmember O'Connell is not yet. There she is.
She timed this just for this.
Timing. As the council is aware, Councilmember O'Connell has spent many years and a great deal of productive time and energy representing the city of San Bruno on the CCAG board, and she's obviously very familiar. So while she's getting herself settled, I would just like to highlight a couple of what I consider to be the most important and beneficial to San Bruno accomplishments and initiatives of CCAG over the last recent number of years. Those include 4 items that I think we should be particularly proud of. The first is the participation that we provided in a CCAG initiative to take advantage of a new ABAG opportunity for local regions to complete their own housing needs allocation analysis. And in this case, San Bruno was benefited by being able to negotiate, if you will, or to participate within our region in order to reach an agreement for what amounts to a mandate for production of housing. More recently, CCAG was successful in a ballot measure that provides over $175 million to local jurisdictions within San Mateo County over the next 25 years to complement other funds for critical activities in transportation and stormwater initiatives. Transportation-oriented development program, this is one that the city of San Bruno has participated in. We've been fortunate to receive probably close to $1 million in funding through that program based on our production of housing in order to produce improvements throughout our community, most notably the median island improvements that we've, among those, the ones that we've recently completed along El Camino Real. And then lastly, and this probably goes back about 2 years, CCAG was very instrumental in advocating and rallying our advocacy with the Regional Water Quality Control Board having to do with new NPDES stormwater discharge requirements that are extremely onerous. They were implemented, but I think that CCAG was very effective in providing advocacy for the city's perspective, for the city's, multiple cities' perspective in meeting those probably necessary requirements. Rich Napier, the executive director, is that your title, of CCAG, is in the audience tonight along with his wife. And I would just like to say that it's a pleasure to work with Rich. I think he has our best interests in mind, not to the exclusion of those other communities up and down the peninsula, of course, but I think he is a creative and proactive advocate for cities and one who uses the Council of Governments format for a true benefit and means of creating initiatives that actually move us further forward in many necessary activities. I'm proud to be a part of the San Mateo County City Council Association of Government, City County Associations of Government, because I've seen that in my experience in 2 other counties that this Council of Governments is probably, as I said, the most proactive and creative that I've seen. So I think that with that little bit of advocacy, I think your action to reauthorize CCAG is well warranted and would be expected to be continuing to be of benefit to San Bruno and other cities. I'm sure Councilmember O'Connell has some additional comments.
You did that so eloquently. I just want to echo what you said about Richard. The CCAG would not be what it is without Richard's leadership. He has brought forward many of the ideas that the the CCAG board has acted on, and we wouldn't be there without you, Richard, so I just want to publicly acknowledge that. And the other part that's so unique about CCAG is how collaborative everyone is. There's 21 of us. We sit down, sometimes even more than that, because we have MTC representatives and other representatives who come in. But we truly sit down and try to tackle regional problems in a regional way. We always try to acknowledge that we can't fix everything, that we can't always get money to every community every single time we do something, but overall, throughout the years, everyone has benefited much more than any of the money that they've put into it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know Richard would as well.
Any questions? Richard, would you like to say anything?
You made this trip, you might as well say something,
Yeah.
Richard.
Richard Napier, 555 County Center, Redwood City. Certainly, I appreciate the comments of staff. I guess the one thing I would say that I'm always saying, my viewpoint is from the cities. And a lot of the issues we're fighting in the region is trying to represent the cities. And I think the one additional thing that I would make is we try to provide services for the cities. There's a lot of things that you're short on staff, funds are tight, but relative to transportation funding, relative to the stormwater, we're paying for the NPDS claim with the Commission on Mandates. I agree with your city manager relative to the onerous aspect of that. So one of the things we're trying to do is to be an extension of your staff in those very specialized areas. That's not possible. So I'll certainly be glad to respond to any questions. I also want to thank the City Council for Councilmember O'Connell's. She's been on the CCAG board from the very first day that I was there, and she's been an excellent leader. So we certainly appreciate that commitment.
Thank you. Any questions? Action? Introduce.
Well, I'll be happy to introduce
waited
the
for you.
resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10B, receive an oral report regarding the establishment of a trust fund to cover long-term city costs associated with the September 9th Glenview explosion and fire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The purpose of the report tonight is strictly informational, and it is intended to provide you a brief overview and update on the status of a trust fund that has been established by PG&E for the benefit of the City of San Bruno. And specifically, the trust is intended as a means to implement PG&E's previous and its ongoing commitment to assure that the city is not damaged financially and will have the necessary resources without burdening taxpayers to deal with the unknown amount of costs associated with the response to recovery from and the long-term impacts of the Glenview explosion and fire. At this time, and probably for the foreseeable future, the city does not have a real ability to accurately predict what the long-term cost of the full response and recovery will be over what period of time, and costs will continue to be incurred. How long will it take? That is something that remains unknown to us. So the trust is established with an initial deposit of $12 million. Again, those funds come directly from PG&E. They're deposited to a trust that will be managed by an independent trustee to whom the city will present its requests for reimbursement and documentation for those reimbursements in order that the trustee might approve and facilitate reimbursement to the city. As I indicated, our ability to predict, and frankly PG&E's ability or anybody's ability to predict what the total long-term cost to the city will be. The trust is established with an initial deposit amount, but it has a provision for additional deposits that might be made as needed up to a maximum of $70 million. Trust funds may be used for a wide variety of necessary expenditures, and I'm going to just simply state those, mostly for public information purposes, directly out of the trust. Specifically, those funds may be used to be advanced or to reimburse the city for any unreimbursed or uninsured costs incurred or paid by the city in connection with the incident. These costs might include, but are not limited to, professional, consulting, travel, staffing, other municipal costs, cleanup, repairs, remediation, attorney's fees and costs, investigation and response costs. And again, those are only a few of the examples of the types of costs that may be encountered by the city and that may need to be reimbursed to the city. On the other hand, there are certain exclusions from the costs to which trust funds might be applied. And specifically, the trust fund is not available to reimburse the city for costs incurred related to any lawsuit in which the city and PG&E are both parties, or for claims or judgments against the city related to the incident, and/or from any claims or judgments against the city related to the city's activities in response or recovery from the incident. As the City Council is aware, the city's costs to date have been very high, and the majority of those costs have already been recovered through a claims process that is part of the state's disaster assistance program. In this particular case, that reimbursement has occurred in a roundabout way, but via PG&E. And those costs for response and primarily for the immediate response to the incident that this city provided are just over $800,000. And the majority of those costs were incurred, as I indicated, in the immediate response period of the first several weeks following the incident. Additional costs have been incurred but not yet reimbursed for things like reconstruction of retaining walls and drainage improvements, costs associated, both legal and consulting costs, as well as staff costs associated with our participation in the NTSB investigation and other related activities. In addition to that, we will be evaluating how the countless number of city staff hours that have been diverted from the public's normal business, including things such as participation in investigative and regulatory proceedings. We will be evaluating how those costs might be appropriately captured and potentially reimbursed through the trust. Lastly, and significantly, the city is proceeding with its plans to not only assist residents in rebuilding their own properties. You have waived fees and charges associated with building permits. Those costs will be considered for reimbursement by the trust, or those revenues, those lost revenues. But additionally, there is a very significant expense yet to be incurred by the city associated with planning for and rebuilding its infrastructure, including roads, sidewalks, sewer, water, storms, drains, and other utilities. So we see this path in front of us still to be long and potentially expensive. Again, the purpose of this trust is to avoid impact to San Bruno ratepayers and taxpayers who are otherwise generally financially generally cover through their taxes and rates much of the city's activities. The trust fund is intended strictly for city-related costs, and as the city council is aware, PG&E has a variety of other initiatives and programs to fund claims and other expenses that are incurred by private property owners and others who have been impacted by the incident. Copies of the trust are available on your dais and on the table for members of the public. We anticipate that costs will be handled in a manner that is very consistent both with the claims process that has been undertaken to date as well as the city's normal expenditure procedures. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions or provide any additional information the council may wish.
Good. Any questions of the city manager? All right, thank you for the information. From the audience. Item 10C, adopt a resolution approving expanded promotional incentives for the cable department's direct sales campaign to generate new customers for cable, internet, and telephone services.
Honorable Mayor and members of City Council, good evening. Tenzin Galson, Cable Television Director. Our item before you this evening is to seek City Council approval to expand the promotional incentives for cable's direct sales campaign to generate new customers. As you're aware, the cable industry has seen a slow but steady decline in basic cable customers over the last 10 years due to the state of the economy and the increasing level of competition. San Bruno Cable has been similarly impacted. Over the last 10 years, basic cable subscribers have declined by 4,600 units. However, during the same 10-year period, San Bruno Cable has added 15,000 new units in other core services such as internet, digital cable, phone, HD service, and DVR rentals. Also, we have transformed our business from being just a cable TV company into a telecommunications company serving both the residential and the business community. Up until 2009, except for competition from satellite service providers, San Bruno Cable did not have a true locally present competition or competitor. The introduction of new competition has resulted in a higher level of subscriber churn. Through March, while we added approximately 1,100 basic cable subscribers, 1,800 cable subscribers disconnected, resulting in a net loss of approximately 700 subscribers. Basic cable subscribers are a core component of our revenue strategy and vital to the city's general fund. So growing and maintaining basic cable subscribers is essential to ensuring the viability of the cable enterprise. As such, San Bruno Cable has conducted a variety of marketing initiatives to address the loss in basic cable subscribers, including the recent door-to-door sales program between August and December 2010. Door-to-door sales is a tactic used by all cable companies and even our competitors. The success of any campaign is dependent upon the promotional offer. We try to evaluate the market and develop an offer that sometimes is outcompeted by competitors. When that happens, we just need to improve our offer and remarket it. Staff is recommending that we continue to invest in these type of marketing initiatives to stabilize the basic subscriber losses and regain market share. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our business manager, Steve Furpo, to provide you with a recap of the recently completed door-to-door campaign and the details of our new campaign that we are proposing.
Thank you, Tenzin. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. The 2010 door-to-door sales campaign yielded 1,970 new service units, but it did not generate any significant number of new basic cable subscribers, as shown in Table 1 of your report. That campaign, as you can see, generated 103 new basic cable subscribers. The sales team was not able to effectively sell that offer of a free first month, free installation, and free activation against competing offers that included longer free periods, greater discounted rates, and cash incentives, such as $100 gift cards. From our discussion with the sales crew and their management, we have learned that prospective customers are looking for a low entry price, no long-term contracts, and some guarantee that prices will not steeply rise over the short term. The proposed promotion consists of fixing the service rate for 3 years, as shown in Table 3 of your report, for the core services, which are digital cable, internet, and phone, and the triple play bundle packages. Even though the prices have been discounted, the campaign prices sufficiently cover the direct cost of providing those services. By setting the offer with a low entry price and fixing the rates for the next 3 years without requiring a contract, we feel that our expanded offer will draw customers who left for competitors' teaser or introductory rates back to San Bruno Cable. Additionally, to match the offers being presented by our competitors, staff proposes that the revitalized offer include other incentives such as HD service and all triple pay packages, a premium service or a foreign language service free for 3 months, and the continuation of the free install and free activation. It's also proposed that a $100 credit be offered to incentivize a switch from our competitors. The promotional period will be for 2 months, beginning May 1st and ending June 30th, 2011. Prospective customers must sign up for service within this window to receive the offer. The offer will be honored only for those households who have not been a cable customer for at least 3 months. Existing customers may also take advantage of the promotional offer by way of a service upgrade. For example, a cable TV only customer may add internet to their service and get the promotional rate. This not only incents an existing customer to take more services from San Bruno Cable, but it also increases revenue and customer retention. Given the short time frame between now and the end of the fiscal year, it is not practical to deploy the door-to-door sales crew. So, as per the advice of the Cable Subcommittee, Mayor Wayne and Councilmember O'Connell, it is proposed that this campaign be conducted through a direct mail to all non-cable and internet-only subscribers at this time. Conducting the campaign through direct mail is not only cost-efficient, but it also enables us to gauge the attractiveness of this offer. Depending on the success of the direct mail campaign, City Council may direct staff to continue the promotion through the door-to-door sales campaign during the next fiscal year. The direct mail campaign will consist of 4 postcard mailers during the 2-month period. The 4 mailers with postage are expected to cost approximately $45,000. The community promotions account in the cable operating budget has a balance of $163,000, which is available for funding this proposed campaign. This concludes our presentation. The director and I are happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Ibarra.
Here we go. Expensive to do door-to-door. Staff report said $61,000 in commissions and doing the door-to-door, and I experienced one of the door-to-door salesmen, and he didn't impress me at all. Now you're talking about a mailing campaign. Why don't we just go toe-to-toe with AT&T and with these other companies? We've seen what we can do on cable, as far as PSAs. Why don't we do it on cable? Why don't we just do it so that people see that we are, comparing our offers and, our incentives with what is being offered that other people are seeing. That's why they're leaving.
Right.
I haven't seen anyone from the competitors come door to door. I'm getting kind of tired of seeing them on the commercials all the time.
Right. Councilman, they do they're national advertisers, so they can use the television to reach subscribers we don't reach, or we don't need to reach because they're out of our area. As far as doing a campaign for video on our system, again, you're right, that would target our existing customers, which would hopefully keep them with us. So I see a value to that, but we would not be reaching customers that don't have our service, and that's why the door-to-door campaign was done. The AT&T folks are out there. They're doing the door-to-door. They were out there when we were doing ours, and they're out there now. And they have a new campaign coming that's very aggressive as well. So just to address that, yeah, I agree. We could do something along those lines with existing customers to do that comparison. But we need to reach those customers that we don't have.
So just so that I'm clear on it, we don't have the freedom to just plug in commercials on our own system.
We do. We have we have the freedom to plug it in on our own system, which our current subscribers would see.
Oh.
And that's it. That's the issue. Yeah.
So if someone else is watching that same channel, a network channel, they're going to see something else.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're on
Okay.
satellite.
My next sentence is more of a grassroots thing, because I remember, and Steve, you've been involved in it, we need to be out there in the community more at the community events. We've got a farmer's market starting up, on Sunday. I think cable needs to be out there. Show your equipment, let people stand around, maybe there's a ball game on or something, and they can stop and say, and then at that time you can tell them about our new services, our new incentives. Those are people that may have left. Those are people that, are San Bruno residents just stopping by to buy.
We were at the farmer's market twice last year. It did not result in many sales, but it did result in the good customer contact that you're talking about and answering questions. We do propose to do that again this year. We did the Tanforan event before. Did not result in very many local people even coming to our table, because they're just either they had our service or they were from another city. Yeah, we do plan on doing that. Point well taken.
Okay.
Mr. Medina?
A couple of things. Interestingly enough, I went and spoke to a family who had switched from San Bruno Cable to DirecTV about 7 months ago. And oddly, as I'm having the conversation, found out that they switched from our internet to AT&T's internet about a week ago. I found that as a good reference point in which to try to find out what was driving them to switch. So I have some information, probably won't go into all this about their promos, and I guess we don't want to give them any airtime. But it was interesting that in reading the flyer here, opposed to why they switched several months ago, and what was offered, there are some things that are more enticing, shall we say, back then for them to make the switch. And I think one of the things that you're addressing is the 3 years. So it gives you some sense of what will you be paying, because that's always the fear. How much will it go up and how fast will I be able to react to it or change out of it, and get out of the contract? I think people look for immediate savings, even if it's a year. They're willing to switch from year to year because in this economy, if you can save me a couple $100 this year and I switch back next year, I'll do that. And I think they're willing to do that. And obviously they have. On your flyer, there was just one thing I noticed, and it says in bold in the center, TV and internet packages now available. That's on the bottom portion of the flyer. And on the top portion, and I didn't catch this, they did, it's blank. There's nothing there. I don't know if it should say, the same type of thing, that to have consistency. I don't know if that was left out intentionally. That's something, again, they caught, I didn't. But it is just a concern. I think Councilmember Ibarra, I've echoed this before, and I'll say it again, is that I think our engagement in the community to show our local what we can do, what we have done, and we should be engaged in the various aspects of the community, because in essence, back then, and I'm going to go back to the old days, is you knew that the cable department was engaged in the community, gave back to the community, so your subscription and participation in that helped the community, helped the youth programs, helped all those activities and the sponsorships that they've had. And I know things have changed, and there's different processes or promotions that we're going differently. But I think, again, in these hard times, back to basics is not a bad thing. So I would encourage, I'm also going to say I had some calls on the door-to-door, which were folks that came there, and they were not complimentary whatsoever, and not by one or two. So, one person calls you, two persons, when you start getting to four, and they're making a call to me, that concerns me. So,
do you have cable?
I have cable. No, they didn't come to me. Talking about calls from residents who experienced them, and honestly, one called, I'm understanding the department, because they were saying this person can't be working for the department. They were very taken back and concerned about who was at the door, and the way they represented themselves and their image. And the image represents us. So if we're going to have somebody going door to door, let's make sure they have the standards and the expectations that we have as an organization, as a company, and as a city. And how do you feel that this is going to, in this short time with this drive, what makes you think that we're going to get better results here than we did on this other campaign?
I think part of the reason we were not as successful in the last campaign was because of the offer itself. The offer itself was not very attractive compared to what was out in the market. So we looked at that seriously and said, what is it that customers are really looking for? I mean, like Steve said in his report, looking for a low entry price point, guaranteed that the price is not going to go up steeply over the long term. So we looked at all those different factors and then developed a new campaign based on that. So we think that with the change in the offer, we think we're going to see some success. And by doing a direct mail piece, we wanted to make sure, test the market and see how that the offer is going to be accepted by customers. And then if the customers are ready to switch, we can get that customer at a low price point versus paying for a door-to-door campaign. So once we've done the initial pass-through and gotten as many customers as we can through the direct mail piece, then we can go back and actually do a door-to-door and try to get the remaining customers. So in this first phase, we're going to hit all the customers that are currently non-cable customers that only have internet service, et cetera, to get that base up first. So that's sort of the strategy that we're pursuing this time around. And just to address some of the concerns about cable's presence in the community, we try to actively participate in the Operation Clean Sweep and other events as well. We continue to sponsor sporting teams and local charities as much as we can, given our policy. So we'll continue to do those type of efforts, and we'll continue to continue that into the future as well.
I got one thing else to add. I'm no marketing guru or anything, but
when I look at these flyers, and every time that I've seen how we're marketing San Bruno Cable, there's so much information. It's like you're trying to put so much on these flyers, and it just ends up being a bunch of numbers. I mean, go for the throat. Go say, AT&T, you're paying this much for AT&T, we're offering you this. This is how much you're paying for this. This is what we're... Get them to see it. I mean, just by saying, come back to San Bruno, it's like, why? I mean, you've got all these prices on there. You know, how does that... And I know that it's difficult to compare apples to apples with all of these other providers.
I mean, I truly appreciate the
Yeah.
feedback, Councilmember
Yeah.
Ibarra, because that's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of direction in
Yeah.
when how we conduct our campaigns. And until now and until recently, a lot of our campaigns have been very passive, so to speak, and we talk about promoting what we have versus, you know, competing against the competitor type of thing. We've really not taken that position, but with your direction, you know, we can expand the way we promote our services.
Because the commercials don't tell you anything. They're just
Yeah.
really monotonous and everything, but they get that one price, that one thing that they're offering, and they keep throwing that at you. And that's what grabs the people to at least, you know, inquire or make the
Right.
call. I think that's what we got to do, is that just
We appreciate the feedback, and we're looking to do that.
grassroots, just
Yeah. And
compare
also
with what
improving-
they're doing and undercut them.
Yeah, and also improving materials as well, trying to make it more classy in terms of marketing
Yeah.
materials as well.
Sounds like Councilmember Ibarra might want to go door to door for you.
My daughter left.
Irene, anything?
Sorry.
Oh, we talked long and hard about the issues that you brought up, and I know the flyer that you have in front of you is not the final flyer. Some of the information is not even correct of what we just heard. So maybe you could, when you get down to when you're choosing the final thing, shoot us all a copy, and we can all, not that you have to listen, but we can put our 2 cents worth in, because sometimes it's always better to have another eye sometimes to
Absolutely.
see what's going on.
Trying to sell us.
Well, it's a difficult game. The companies out there are, you know, they have huge customer base. We have a very limited one. They have a huge budget for advertising, for marketing, for all those things. And if one thing doesn't work, they immediately switch to something else. So, you know, we're trying to keep this in-house. We're trying to do the best we can. We're trying things, and if it doesn't work, we switch and try something else. So I think we're responding, and all the input we give and all the input you're giving makes a better product. So.
Michael, any comments on 10C?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Irene is right. We sit in these cable meetings long and hard and try to figure all of this out. You know, we're not a national firm where we can do loss leaders and throw people into the fold and just tease them in the beginning with some cheap rates and then find out that they're in a contract and going to get burned later. So we're trying in a very nice way to sell our own product, which in fact is you know, putting monies in the city coffers, by the way. And so it's compared to where we were a number of years ago. We had cable TV, and then cable TV expanded. We have high definition TV. We have VoIP. We have internet access. You know, it's a great system. And the fact that you can pick up the phone and have a technician there free of charge is huge. So all of these things are difficult to explain in a flyer. A lot of them are difficult to explain with an outside source knocking on your door. But I think you have some direction tonight as to how you can fine-tune what you're proposing. Good. Having said that, is there a, Irene?
Oh, thank you. I just had a thought, and I was noticing on this, we don't have the city logo on this. Is that something we should consider? Maybe on the other side? I mean,
Sure.
it is City of San Bruno. We have it on and everything else.
Right.
Maybe that would be.
Through the chair,
I
this was
don't
a
know.
while ago, but I thought that there, and way before my time, but there was a lot of dialogue, and they came up with, the city had their own, cable department had their own emblem, which was different than the city's logo.
yes.
And I remember that, and I remember watching it on TV or being in the audience, and it was you maybe were.
No,
but
I
it
wasn't here for that one.
No, so it goes back a ways. Wow. So, but yeah, it was purposely done. And I think that they were trying to, at that time. Now, that was then. This is now. So we can change anything.
I'm not suggesting that we do away with the San Bruno Cable logo. I'm suggesting we add the San Bruno City logo, and maybe If you have no plans for the other side of the flyer, maybe it should be on one side of the flyer or someplace. I don't know. Something to think about.
All right.
I'd like the
Anything
mayor's
else?
face on the
No,
flyer,
no.
too.
I'll do one special just for you.
Well, with that, I'll introduce the resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10D, receive a quarterly financial report as of March 31st, 2011 for fiscal year 2010, 2011, general funds, special revenue funds, enterprise funds, and internal service funds.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Edmondson Finance Director. This is a quarterly financial update as of March 31st, 2011. The first slide identifies some of the major revenue categories for the general fund, so I'll go over each one of these items. In the category of property taxes, we're currently at, through the first 9 months of the fiscal year, we're at 58% of the full year budget. Property taxes are primarily paid in two large installments, that being in November and April of the fiscal year. So in these results, obviously, we have not included, does not include the April large installment. There are also some small payments that are also made during the course of the year. So at the end of the fiscal year, staff is expecting that we will be close to either meeting the level of the budget or very close, maybe a little bit, a tad behind the full year's budget, but certainly, within, relatively within the range of the $5.6 million. In the area of sales tax, we're at 72% of the budget, compare very favorably to the prior year's results. A couple of key elements of the increases include a one-time credit of a misallocation of sales taxes of $140,000. The state's correction in terms of in lieu sales tax via the triple flip. And then I think generally recovering economy that's led to some improvement in terms of retail sales overall. Third category is in the area of vehicle license fee, and that's right at the 50% mark. This is actually primarily paid by the county, and again, two installments, November and April there. In the area of charges for services, we're right at the 75% mark. Moving on to uses of money and property, the primary source of that is actually investment interest income. And with interest rates and yields continue to be very, very low, we're obviously behind in terms of where we are at this point in time. And staff does expect that by the end of the year, we're not going to be able to hit that $2 million mark, probably in the neighborhood of about $200,000 to $250,000 below that mark. And then lastly, in terms of the major categories, transient occupancy tax. When we budgeted for this category at around this time last year, the economy was still facing some difficulties, and we budgeted very conservatively. And with the improvements that we've seen, that's actually been a very pleasant surprise in terms of comparing to where we budgeted. So we're already at 87% at the 9-month mark, with 3 months to go, plus an extra month because the TOT taxes are received 1 month in arrears, so there's actually 4 months to go in terms of TOT revenue. So that category is obviously doing quite well compared to where we budgeted. In terms of expenditures, Overall, we're at 73% through the first 9 months. In terms of anomalies, the only one that really stands out was really in the category of engineering and streets, and that's really more of an accounting function. There are staffing charges that we make on the accounting side to charge staff time against CIP projects, and that hasn't been done yet, so it's a little bit misleading in terms of where that level is. Once we book that entry, we'll reduce those expenditures accordingly and charge them out to the various CIP projects. Moving on to, moving out of the general fund, actually, I should go back to the slide here. In terms of overall results that we expect for the balance of the year, we think that we will be running short about $400,000 in terms of revenues compared to expenses. Now, this is comparably favorable to what we did when we did this budget. We're expecting a $900,000 gap to be made up in terms of using limited term revenues, that being use of excess ERAF, and then repayment from the redevelopment agency to the equipment reserve fund, which in turn would then transfer that money back into the general fund. So with this picture in mind, what we're proposing, and we identified that at the February study session, is that in lieu of using those two limited term reserves, we would then use the excess revenues or the better than expected revenues from the current picture, and then the rest would come from fund balance that we've accumulated from the prior fiscal year. So moving on to redevelopment agency, the revenues for both the operating fund and the low and moderate income fund, again, are also tied into the payments that we receive from the county, and therefore we're just above the 50% threshold. In terms of the expenditures, they're substantially lower than a linear calculation, and the reason why is in the operation side, the pass-through payments that are made are typically done toward the end of the fiscal year, and that works out to be about $3.3 million. So obviously, most of the expenditures for the operating fund, redevelopment agency operating fund, that is, doesn't occur until the latter part of the fiscal year. It's not reflected in the third quarter numbers. Similarly, in the low and moderate income housing fund, we've only spent about $400,000 out of the $1.4 million. And again, there's an element of expenditures that doesn't occur until the fourth quarter, and that's the subsidy that we provide to Archstone, and then again, that's made toward year end in the fourth quarter. So that amount is about $680,000. So again, a substantial portion of the expenditures in this particular fund doesn't occur until Q4. In the enterprise funds, as was just discussed, in terms of the cable television enterprises, due to the loss of subscribers, we're not expecting to be able to hit full year revenue targets. Likewise, on the expenditure side, as we add subscribers, there are some incremental costs associated with that. So really, at the end of the day, we're going to see revenues that are not going to hit the budget numbers. Likewise, on expenditures, we're not going to be spending the entire $10.8 million as budgeted. In the other, in the public services enterprises, if I may, in the wastewater, water, and storm water, the revenues there are, at least for wastewater and water, are running a little bit lower than what we would normally see, and I think much of that is partly attributed to just lower consumption that we're seeing for the fiscal year. In the area of the stormwater enterprise, that's actually through assessments, so it's part of the property tax bill that the assessment is added to. So again, we've only received partial payments from the county on that. So in this particular category, we do expect that we will be able to hit the budgeted revenue mark of $597,000. So looking ahead, staff is working on preparing the 2011-12 budgets, and a couple of elements that we're looking at, continued costs that we're dealing with in terms of PERS retirement. The impact to the general fund is about $644,000 due to the rate increases that we've been provided by CalPERS. So overall, we're looking at somewhere between the $950,000 to $1 million mark in terms of shortfall. We discussed that at the February budget study session, and consistent with those discussions, the plan is to use, again, limited duration revenues to close that gap, and that, again, being undesignated fund balance. We also have recovery of permit fees that we're expecting from PG&E for the Glenview rebuild, and then leftover balance, we would then go to excess ERAF as the option. We'll be coming back to City Council with budget study session scheduled for early June to talk about the recommended budget. So as staff continues to complete that process, we'll bring that item up to City Council to identify those specific dates for the budget study sessions. With that, I'll take any questions, and the recommendation is for the City Council to receive this report.
Good. Any questions?
Through the
Ken?
chair. Edmund, you explained clearly as far as the property tax revenue, and that we haven't received it yet. And then you give these dates from 2009, 2010. Are those the same type of numbers? I mean, is there any comparison to those numbers that that we see in 2009, 2010, as compared to what you're seeing now?
Yes, so in looking at this side, in terms of property taxes, in 2009-10, through first 9 months, we were around 3.279 compared to where we are for this current year, so it's relatively comparable.
Okay.
So yes, we're measuring the same time period.
So along those same lines,
Yes.
I realize we have 55 homes
Correct.
whose property values have significantly been reduced. Is there any talk, can you talk about how that's going to reflect in these figures, and quite possibly in the coming
Yes,
term?
the potential impact is more likely for the following year. When the tax roll was conducted, this was measured as of January 1st, 2010. That's how the county measures the values. They freeze the date, so to speak, and say, okay, where are the assessed values as of this date? So for the next budget, they're going to be using January 1st, 2011 as the measurement date. So potentially the impacts would then be for the subsequent fiscal year in terms of potential impacts in terms of property taxes.
So that's significant, isn't it? Or do you anticipate it being significant?
Yes, there's definitely a value associated
short term,
with that.
at least.
And what I would say is that in terms of those loss of revenues, that's an element that we can go to PG&E as part of the reimbursement process, because included in that whole concept is not only what we incur in terms of expenditures, but also included in there is the notion of lost revenues. So this would fall within that umbrella.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ed? All right, thank you for the report. Item E, adopt a resolution approving third quarter budget amendments for fiscal year 2010-11 for operating and capital improvement program budgets.
Thank you. These are the third quarter budget adjustments, and it summarizes the city council actions that were taken during the past quarter that actually have budgetary impacts. So I'll summarize them very briefly, and on your staff report obviously are the itemizations of the individual adjustments, whether they are revenues and or appropriations. So in the area of revenue amendments, we're looking to increase phone site rental income. This is from the new lease with T-Mobile. So the value of that increase in revenue is about $9,635. We're also looking to amend the budget for the COPS funding for the current year. It's $100,000. And then lastly, in terms of revenues, we've identified funding for the swimming pool resurfacing project, so that amounts to $29,644. In terms of expenditures, 4 items that are included in terms of appropriation adjustments, $36,700 for the funding of 2 additional marked police vehicles, actually is in the previous slide. And then we have special, grant revenues for the, for the CIP project of $111,913. And then, again, this is related to the swimming pool resurfacing project. And then lastly, in terms of the water fund, $205,000 to do the water systems master plan that was approved by City Council. So these are the adjustments that we're recommending for City Council approval. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions or action?
Any questions? I'll introduce the resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10F, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Vavrnek, Trine, and Day and Company for financial audit services for 3 fiscal years, beginning with fiscal year ending June 30th, 2011.
Thank you. The completion of the 2009-10 audit marked the conclusion of a 3-year audit services agreement that we had with the incumbent auditor. As a result, the Finance Department proceeded to issue a request for proposal for audit firms for 3 years, beginning with the 2010-11 audit. 9 firms responded to the RFP. Staff committee consisting of myself, the assistant finance director, and the accounting supervisor, who are really the prime liaisons with the auditor and the audit process, reviewed the proposals and selected the top 6 firms in terms of the quality of the proposal and the bid price. These 6 proposals, it's important to note that these 6 proposals compare, in terms of price, compared to the 3-year contract from the former incumbent. They were all lower than that. The former 3-year contract, including the preparation of the financial statements, was $167,840. So each one of those 6 firms that we interviewed and considered were lower than that. And as indicated on the staff report, it identifies the all-inclusive audit and financial statement preparation price for each one of those 6 firms, plus the 3 that we didn't talk to. The firm of Vavrnek, Trine, Day and Company are very experienced in terms of audits of government entities. Some of the local agencies that they audit the clients include the town of Hillsborough, down further south, city of Santa Clara, city of Los Altos, across the bay, city of San Leandro, city of Albany. They do have a lot of resources, having a large number of municipal clients, and as part of their services, they do provide accounting guidance in terms of new accounting pronouncements as they pertain to government auditing and government agencies. In selecting the firm of, if I can abbreviate it, VTD, they are actually not the lowest bidder. There were 2 other firms that actually provided bids at a lower price. The staff's concerned about the other 2 bids. The other 2 bidding firms are much smaller firms, with much smaller staff, and the clients that they typically have are smaller municipalities and/or special agencies. So we're a little bit concerned in terms of the resources and the breadth of experience, not necessarily in terms of the partner, but also, ranging down to the staff level that would be actually participating in our audit there. So the 3-year proposal for Vavrnik, Trine, and Day works out to be $141,000, inclusive of the preparation of the financial statements. So the recommendation from staff is for the City Council to adopt the resolution authorizing the City Manager to execute the agreement with VTD for the financial services, auditing services for the 3 years beginning with fiscal year 2010-11. That I'll
Thank
take
you.
any questions.
Any questions? Action?
Through the chair, I'll introduce the resolution for adoption.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. And 10G, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Interstate Grading and Paving, Inc. for the Sneath Lane Pavement and Bicycle Lane Improvement Project in the amount of $144,475.50 and approving a construction budget in the amount of $166,475. Staff, please.
Try it again.
Better. Wow.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. It's my honor tonight to present to you this project, Sneath Lane Pavement and Bicycle Lane Improvement Project. Sneath Lane is one of the main east and west bicycling traveling corridors in the city. As you can see in the map, currently the bicycle lane along Sneath Lane, established by Street pavement marking, is between Skyline Boulevard and National Avenue. The purpose of this project is to extend the on-street bike lane along Sneath Lane and to close one of the gaps in the major corridor in the city. The improvement proposed on Sneath Lane are between Seabiscuit and Huntington Avenue. Improvement included our street resurfacing treatment, new on-street bicycle lane markings, and the associated signage. Bicycle lane marking improvement between National and Seabiscuit are not included in this project because the insufficient roadway width between National and Seabiscuit. We received 4 bids, and the low bid is based on the combination of the base bid plus 2 payment alternative to slurry seal or to overlay new AC along this segment of the street. Based on the evaluation of the low bid unit prices, the alternative to slurry seal was selected, which leads to the proposed contract amount of $144,475. Then that leads us to the proposed contract budget of $166,475. Excuse me. This includes 15% of contingency and is to be funded by 2 CIP projects, of which the first one is street rehab project with $100,000 allocation and a prior appropriation of $666,475 from the Sneath Lane Bicycle Lane Improvement Project. The proposed construction contracts are costs are within budget. This brought us the summary of the funding, of which grant is $32,500, and the remaining amount from Measure A is approximately $34,000. Our proposed project schedule, if this contract is to be approved by the City Council, which will award the contract next month, May 2011, with the estimated start of construction of June, and the estimated construction completion and project closeout in August 2011. With this, excuse me, we recommend the City Council to adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to execute a construction contract for the project in the amount of $144,475.50 and approving the construction budget in the amount of $166,475.
Good.
With
Any
that, I would like to
questions
take any questions.
Any questions of staff? Action?
To the chair, just briefly,
Yes,
I'd
Ken.
just like to say this is an example of the benefit of CCAG. Even though it's the grant money is a few years old, we are going to benefit from it. So with that, I would like to introduce the resolution for adoption.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell. Aye. Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item number 11, report of commissions, boards, and committees. We don't have any this evening. 12, comments from council members.
Through the chair,
Ken?
can't thank enough. We did have Easter last week. Happy Easter to everyone. And a couple weeks ago, the San Bruno Lions participated in the pancake breakfast for the first time. So thank you to the chamber and to Artichoke Joe's for throwing that on us. But it was a very successful event, and I thank Artichoke Joe's for their support, but also thank recreation staff for the day and all their help. And so we'll do it again next year. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Just remind you that the farmers market's opening this Sunday. So should be a nice day, nice weather, and lots of good stuff to buy. We have 4 closed sessions. The first one is to confer with legal counsel regarding State Regional Water Quality Control Board, citation number R2-2010-0004, California Government Code Section 54956.9A. B, confer with legal counsel regarding Baykeeper versus City of San Bruno, United States District Court, civil case number 753SC, California Government Code Section 54956.9A. Item C, confer with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, one case, California Government Code Section 54954.9A. And finally, D, the City Manager and Human Resources Director request a closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6 regarding direction for labor negotiations with the police and public safety bid management bargaining units. And I don't believe we will have any reportable action.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Having said that, this meeting is adjourned to our next meeting, May 10th, right here at the Senior Center.